What's up, guys? Dave here from betsum.com. About to go over my NFL daily fantasy lineups for Week 10 and some of the picks that I'll be using in DraftKings for this week. So we'll start off with quarterbacks. I love Eli Manning this week. They're at the Patriots. It's the highest point total of the week at 54. He's much cheaper than Brady, and he has the potential to put up the same numbers. I think he's a must-play in at least some of your lineups this week, and I would stack him with Odell. I know it's expensive, but you're gonna have to go. You can go cheap, in running backs, and there's some wide receiver value that you can go a little cheaper on to be able to afford the Eli Odell stack, because they could just blow up huge this week. Odell just gets open, and I would reverse stack this with Brandon LaFell. He's only 4,100, and I think that's going to be a shootout, and I actually think the Giants might win that game too. But either way, I'm hoping for Eli Manning for a big week. I also like Blake Bortles at 5,600. It's a great price for this guy. He's put up a lot of numbers this season, and it's a 48-point total, which is high. And they're at Baltimore, and Bortles has proven that he has no problem getting into shootouts and throwing the ball all down the field to Hearns or Robinson. And he's a super cheap chance at a huge game. I would stack him with Allen Robinson and feel great about it all day. Hearns is hobbled, so all the more reason to stack him with Robinson. As far as the cheapest I'd go is Matt Stafford at 5,400. He's excellent at scoring garbage points in the third and fourth, and I think he's going to prove it in this game against Green Bay. I think Green Bay, who's 12-point favorites, is going to win this game pretty convincingly. Doesn't mean Stafford won't pick up those garbage points late in the game or all game. But I'm definitely going to put him in some of my lineups and stacking him with Megatron. I think Stafford will have a 3-touchdown plus game. So as far as running backs go, my favorite play of the week is DeMarco Murray at 6,200. He's home against Miami, and Miami's defense just looks like a joke. Everyone's running on him, and I think DeMarco, who is running well as of late, is a steal at 6,200. I think he's going to have a monster game. He hasn't had a huge monster game this season. He's had a few close to what you would call that, but I think he gets back into his Dallas Cowboy form in this game and goes off. So I think that's a great price for him. D'Angelo Williams at 6,500. He is questionable, and he had a swollen foot this week, but also all signs point to him playing and being fine. They're home versus lowly Cleveland, and they're without Big Ben. So expect him to run D'Angelo into the ground, and I think he's going to have 150 yards easy and at least a TD or two. Doug Martin on the low end. I don't love this play, but I think that he has a good potential to go off home versus the Cowboys in a game that should get points. So he'll have a solid fantasy game at the very least, so he has a good floor. And if they can get it inside the 5 or 10 and Winston's not throwing the ball in there, then I think Doug Martin could come away with a TD or two as well. But at 5,600, I like to gamble on him in a few lineups this week for sure. For what it's worth, I also like Forsett, who I believe is around the same price. So as far as wide receivers go, I mentioned Odell Beckham before. He's at 8,800, so he's super expensive, but you pay for what you get, and he's as consistent as they come. Eli doesn't seem to want to throw the ball to anyone else, and Odell just gets open on anybody. Add to this is the 54-point total and in a shootout versus Brady, and Odell's just a can't miss. So I would make sure to get him in at least a few lineups because he could just go off. I also like Allen Robinson a lot. He's my favorite receiver player this week. As I mentioned before when talking about Bortles, that Hearns is hobbled, and I already liked Bortles and Robinson before that. But now that Hearns maybe taking a few plays off or might even sit, I think Bortles and Robinson are going to chew up that defense in Baltimore through the air in a high-point total game. I also like Stephon Diggs at 5,100. They're at Oakland, and Oakland is last in the league in passing defense. So I think Bridgewater and Diggs get it done this week with very little issue. I think it's going to be a great game, but it's going to be a high-scoring game, and 5,100 is just a steal for this specific situation. And I also mentioned Brandon LaFell before, and I really like him. That New England game is 54-point total. I know Brady throws to a lot of different players, so it's kind of tough to pinpoint who's going to get all the love this week or in any week for that matter. But he's always got a good floor. Last season and the few games he's played this season, he's always getting you at least 12, and he has a potential to have a huge game. And mark my words, he will have a few huge games before the season's over. And 4,100 is an extremely reasonable price for that floor and ceiling potential. As far as tight ends go, I like Delaney Walker a lot this week. Tennessee is against undefeated Carolina at home with a shady line. I think Tennessee might win this game outright and beat undefeated Carolina. If this is so, how are they going to do that? They don't have any receivers. They have no offense. But Walker is going to have a big one here. And I think he's worth this price tag. And I think Tennessee plays a good game at home. And Delaney Walker is going to be a big reason. He's going to have a lot of targets. I also like Jordan Reed for the same exact reasons, and he's the same exact price. So I'll be putting both of them in a lot of lineups. The Redskins have a chance to beat the Saints at home. It's only a 1-point line, so they're saying that Redskins might have the edge here. Cousins will have no choice but to lean on Reed heavily all game because their receivers are all hobbled or hurt as well. So as far as team defenses, I love Denver, Pittsburgh. Denver's home against the Chiefs. Pittsburgh is home against Cleveland. Both of those games could get ugly fast. And if you really need to gamble on a defense, it might not be bad to pick Oakland for 2,100 as they're home against the Vikings. And they might get a few big turnovers, or it's tough to play down there in the black hole. And sometimes playing against running quarterbacks such as Bridgewater can inflate the defense's sack potential, which also inflates mistake potentials. So I like them as a gamble, and I might throw them in a few. So that's it for my daily fantasy. Stay tuned on betsum.com tomorrow, and you'll get our free picks and our bets. We're currently 4-0 on our pick of the week, the last 4 weeks, and we're also on a 2-0 streak in the NBA, so we're going to try and keep that going for you. So join us tomorrow on betsum.com, and until then, enjoy the sweat.